Cobra have 3 brand new LTDx fairway woods for 2022. So what are the key differences and how do they differ in terms of performance? Let's go find out. So again with the fairway woods, we've got 3 models that match what we see in the driver range. And I've got 2 of these to test today. I've got the standard LTDx and the LTDx Max. Now these share a lot of technologies with the driver range. They've got the new hot face technology, which means there's 15 different zones, which are all different thicknesses, which is going to drive up that ball speed no matter where you strike it on the club face. We also see the power core technology, so there's lots of internal and in some cases external weights on here, and it's multi-material. So that's designed to move weight to the perimeter and drive up the MOI, give you more forgiveness and more ball speed. Now the LTDx is pretty much your traditional model, but we do have this weight in the back. It's going to pull more weight back and give you a bit more launch and more forgiveness. Then with the Max model, again you've got some options here. You can pull more weight into the back of the head and give you more forgiveness, or you can pull more weight into the heel and make this more draw bias. So this is designed to be overall the most forgiving, but let's see what the differences are here in terms of distance between the two and forgiveness. So I'm not going to lie, over the golf ball, this does look fairly small. Personally, I like that, but I'm not sure if it's the most confidence inspiring for everyone. I would say this shaft sits really nicely with this club head because they're both kind of that matte black and it looks really smart behind the golf ball. I also really like the more simplified face we've got here with just the lines, because obviously it's smaller and you don't want it too busy. That was so much easier to launch than I expected it to be. It just didn't look that forgiving of the ball, but actually the ball flight was really nice. And it was pretty good in terms of distance too, like about 208 carry for my first shot, so I'll take that. Great ball flight again. I really do like the sound and the performance, but I'm not all that sure on the feel. Like, it does feel a little bit dead, but then it's pretty quick. Like the ball speed there was up to like 136 and I got 214 carry out of that, so pretty good, especially for the size of the club head. But yeah, sound not necessarily my favourite thing. I think with a fairway wood it's really important that you get that quick easy launch, because you don't really want something that's going really low. It's not going to give you enough hang time, and enough height on the shots is just really important. And it's quite confidence inspiring so far, even though I've only hit a couple of shots, that they've all been really easy to launch, and probably not what I was expecting when I first looked at this over the ball. That felt quick. Yeah, that's carried 221. So say this is just like a standard 3-wood off the rack, like this doesn't have a custom shaft in it or anything. I'm seriously impressed with this performance. Right, I've got the Max model now. This is meant to be more forgiving, but to be honest, I'm not sure how much it's going to be able to improve on the performance we've just seen. Now again, as with the drivers, over the ball, this looks almost identical to the previous model. I mean, I think it'd be really hard to pick something out between them, but I do like that because you're not having to pick one versus the other on looks. Oh, I don't like the shape of that, it's bigger, I prefer the smaller one. They're both really similar, which means you can just dial in that performance and see which one performs better, ultimately, rather than having to pick it based on looks. That was really nice again. Probably flew a little bit higher than what we saw before. I probably would expect that. I should also say I've got the weight in the back of this, so it's designed to give me more forgiveness rather than putting it in the heel for that extra draw bias. So in terms of numbers, that was at 209, so a little bit shorter than probably the average we were seeing with the LTDx, but it was my first shot, so let's see if we can get any more distance out of this. Oh, that was so nice. The ball flight's so straight, and it definitely is a little bit higher, which I think is going to suit probably quite a large proportion of golfers. So in terms of distance, that was up at 214.5, which is probably a lot nearer to what we were seeing with the LTDx. And also the height was quite a bit higher, so we were up near the 100 feet then, which is probably about 20-30 feet more than we saw with the previous model. So I think if you're someone who wants a little bit extra launch, wants something that gets a bit more height, more hang time, you'd probably be looking at this one more. So I struck that slightly heely, but it still went really straight, and my distance only dropped down to 212, so pretty good in terms of that off-centre strike and that ball speed, which is obviously what that hot phase technology is there for. Honestly, that's such a nice ball flight. I know I haven't got this set in like the full maximum draw setting, but I am getting a little draw on this, which shows there is a little bit of help. But for me, I just love the height, the fact it feels easy to launch, and to be honest, the shots have been ultra consistent. I'm super impressed. So in terms of performance, both of these were really good, and there wasn't too much to drag them apart. In terms of distance, I did hit my longest shots with the LTDx. So my longest shot of the test was up at 223, which was definitely pretty impressive. But then if we look at the averages, there wasn't that much difference. I averaged out 214 with the LTX model, and then with the LTX Max, I was down at 211. So only 3 yards difference, which probably isn't going to make a decision for you. One of the big differences was definitely in terms of ball flight. The height was a lot higher with the Max. In fact, it was 20 feet higher, which I think is very confidence inspiring in a fairway wood, because you want that easy launch, you want that height, and you want it to be able to get you a little bit extra hang time, especially for people who struggle to get the ball flight off these shots. For me, it's also particularly important because I'm using this club to fire into greens on long par 4s or par 5s when I'm trying to get there in 2. So you want something that you can hit high and you know is going to stop pretty quickly. Another point on that is that the spin was a little bit different. So we saw about 600 RPM more in the Max, which was definitely probably going to help with that stopping power as well. So we were up nearly at the 3,500 mark here, compared to just under 3,000 with the LTDx. But if you're someone who already generates a lot of spin, maybe you want to move into this model instead. Now, the final big difference was probably in terms of dispersion. I got a lot of my longest shots with the LTDx, but the front to back dispersion just wasn't as consistent. I mean, the dispersion with the Max was super impressive. Probably the most forgiving in terms of front to back distance that I've used in a long time. And overall, to be honest, I was just blown away by the performance of this. To say this is just a generic stock shaft that I've put into my bag to test out, I would put this in play straight away. I've been seriously impressed by both of these performances, but the Max has definitely bowled me over, and I think in terms of performance, this would be the one for me. So if you want less spin and a lower launch, I would go with the LTDx. If you want more forgiveness, more height, and super tight dispersion, definitely the Max model. Right, that's all for today. If you have any questions about either of these or any of the rest of the new Cobra range, feel free to put them in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications too. And if you're after more golf content, head over to the National Club Golfer social media channels for more.